Ministry for Peace believes that humanity has reached a maturity and understanding that peace is not possible without goodwill. Goodwill looks out and sees the world as interconnected, with each small part protecting and helping the growth of the whole. Goodwill looks out and sees beauty in diversity and sees the unity in diversity which is humankind. It sees that every person has their place and value. One world, one humanity cooperating and interacting together with the world's nations and their governments working on behalf of the whole. Peace will be the result of understanding and sharing, not the origin of them. This demands of us a shift in identification from the separate, self-centered individual to the responsible world citizen. We believe that together we can create a world where food, shelter, clothing, healthcare and education would be considered basic human rights. We see peace as a broad concept encompassing financial, political, social and cultural structures and perspectives. The people in this film show a way forward in the establishment of a culture of peace through an Australian Department of Peace, which is a part of a growing global alliance of currently 24 countries all calling their representative governments to establish departments of peace within their infrastructure. In 1937, through the voice of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, a call was made to the Australian government to establish a Ministry for Peace. In 1982, Dr. Stella Cornelius initiated a vigorous Australian campaign for a Ministry or Department of Peace. In 2005, Dr. Cornelius handed on the banner to the then State President of the Democrats, Bianca Pace. A businesswoman and community leader, Bianca has taken up the challenge to push forward the ministry's goal in the public and political arena, galvanizing political figures to step forward into the light and become speakers and lobbyists for the Ministry for Peace.
I'm Dr. Arthur Chesterfield Evans. I'm a medical doctor and I'm currently a state legislator, and I'm trying to change the institutions of the state and again of the country and internationally towards a culture of peace.
Bianca initiated the Sydney Peace Festival, which contained 3 events. The first, a 24-hour peace prayer vigil, took place on September 21, 2006, the United Nations International Day of Peace. It began at midnight with Uncle Max Yulo, an Aboriginal elder, performing the traditional smoking ceremony to the sound of the didgeridoo. This was followed by the arrival of the World Peace Flame and the lighting of 7 candles symbolically representing the 7 continents. At 9 a.m, the vigil was officially opened by the Lord Mayor of Sydney, Clover Moore MP, and the Honourable Dr. Arthur Chesterfield Evans, the Honourable Lee Rhiannon and Mr. Jack Gannon, who flew in from Manhattan representing the UNIDOP.
But it was only when we arrived in Sydney did we get a real feeling of the possibilities of the International Day of Peace.
It was attended by representatives from most religious organisations and peace groups: Christians, Buddhists, Jewish rabbis, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Baha'is, Brahma-Kumaris, African drumming, Zoroastrians, Quakers and many more. The event ended at midnight the following day. On September 24th, a peace concert was held in Victoria Park, Sydney, compared by the Honourable Dr. Arthur Chesterfield Evans, MLC. The New South Wales Premier was represented by Linda Burney, Minister for Fair Trading and Minister for Youth. Consul Generals were invited to send along a folkloric dancing troupe to represent their nation. Displays of dancing from countries such as Poland, Indonesia, Lebanon, Ecuador, Italy were some of the nations represented. From opera singers to pop singers, all were invited to perform for peace. The Australian Ministry for Peace campaign is a political group. Its purpose is to call on the Australian federal government to establish an officially recognised and fully funded Department of Peace, which would be accountable and responsible to the Australian people. It will ensure that all government departments and instrumentalities adhere to and practice a culture of peace, both in Australia and overseas. To that end, the next step taken by the Ministry was in full accord with their stated agenda. On October 5th, the Ministry for Peace held a political forum in Parliament House, Macquarie Street, Sydney. Professor Kerryn Phelps, immediate past president of the Australian Medical Association, acting as facilitator, introduced in turn the speakers on the panel. Each rose to address fellow academics and members of the general public. Bianca has stated that Australians must seek ways to consciously connect and build a culture of peace with non-violence and cooperation as organising principles. She and the members for the Ministry for Peace hope that through our systems of foreign policy, education, politics, business, health and social welfare, a living peace can be established. The Ministry is dedicated to raising an awareness that the seeds of such a culture already exist and that the principles and processes of peace are paramount importance to the development of a sustainable and life-affirming future for all Australians and all peoples of the world.
Peace is not just the absence of war. Somebody said 375 BC, if you want peace, prepare for war. Well, that's quite okay if you assume that the only way to get peace is to have the other people too scared to attack you. Generally, if you want something, you work for that. You don't work for the opposite. So that if you want peace, the smart thing to do is work for peace. It's really
Imagine a world of remarkable beauty and safety. Imagine the difference you can make. Please imagine.